Hey, what is up you guys? Welcome back to your not so weekly CS2 market news. Let's jump right in. The first headline of today is going to conclude the market crash that has happened over the last 3 months. The market has crashed anywhere between 30 to even 50% in some cases. But good things, good news are coming. For about a week and a half, the market has been rebounding, and we're gonna talk about that. Valve has been releasing CS2 updates in a rapid succession, improving the game more and more, and we're gonna look through some of these updates and how they make the game better. A short time ago, Valve has given an interview to the PC Gamer. They covered quite a lot of really popular questions, and we're gonna look through it, and I'm going to summarize it for you and tell you the most important points. The CS2 player base has continued to shrink, hitting all-time low numbers for this year, and we're gonna take a look at that and see how it's doing right now. And the last news of today I thought I should mention, I got mugged today by a freaking Seagull. Stole my lunch. So yeah, I'm your host Prix, and those are the topics for today's news report. Okay, so let's go through them one by one. The first one is about the CS2 market having crashed for the past 3 months. Now we're going to take a look and assess that crash and see how bad it really was. And also we're going to look at how the market has changed in the last 2 weeks. It's actually quite positive news. The way that I usually determine how the market is doing is by selecting a multitude of, let's say, different items in CS2, and then I look at those items. So here's the first item. Dreams and Nightmares case represents the cases within the active drop pool. We can take a look at how it has been doing in the last 3 months, because that's when the skin prices peaked for almost everything. Back then it was 1.5, 1.6 euros at the peak, but consistently it stayed around 1.5, 1.4, and currently the price has hit 1 euro. You can see that this crash has been happening every single week more and more, but recently it has started going up, which is a really good sign. But when you consider that this item was 1.5 euro and now it is 1 euro, slightly more, that's about a 30% decrease. Next item is the Anubis collection package, which is available to purchase inside CS2 in unlimited quantities. This shouldn't really move up and down that much, but despite that, it has crashed as well, which is really unusual for this type of items to go down this much. Since September, it has fallen about 30% at the lowest point, but recently started to recover, which is amazing. I'm not gonna go into as much depth with every single item, but I'm just gonna show you quickly all of the other ones. This one represents a rare case, the one that's in the rare drop pool. Go into the lifetime and you can notice that since September has crashed about 30%. And similarly, in the past 2 weeks or so, it has been doing pretty well actually. Moving on, we have play skins. Those are skins that are really popular, really cheap, and quite liquid. You can see the last 2 weeks price is going 10% at least. But since September we had a crash of 20%. Tournament stickers have shown a decrease of about 30% since September, and recently also going up in price. Knives and gloves have been affected as well, not all of them, this one in particular not too much, but I've seen other knives that haven't done this well. And last but not least, I put the category of investment skins, the ones that you can no longer get and they're really good as investments. You can notice that ever since around September it hasn't really crashed at all, which is surprising honestly. Because a couple of years ago when investment skins peaked the same way they did here, back then they crashed a lot. So I was expecting investment skins to crash just as bad this time, but they didn't, which honestly makes me regret not buying investment skins, but it's fine. And that's about as many categories of items that we need to look at in order to make conclusions about this crash and about the state of the market's economy currently. But of course this isn't enough data to make any kinds of predictions, but I will show you some other data throughout this video, and at the end of the video we can make a sort of conclusion about where the market is headed currently. Alright, now we're moving on to the second topic. As I mentioned, Valve has been releasing a lot of updates recently. This is just December 1st, 3 days ago. And you can see so many fixes and changes around the maps. They also changed a few miscellaneous things, sounds, and most importantly, in my opinion, animations. These changes aren't that huge, but they change the overall perception of the game to the better. And a couple weeks ago, they actually brought in some changes that fixed the issues that people were having with the subtick. It wasn't really the subtick itself or the servers, it was more of an issue with the synchronization of the animation and the actual data itself. People have done many tests and actually proved that your bullet lands exactly where you clicked. It's just the game plays the shooting animation just slightly later, and the bullet goes based on the animation that was played slightly later. So you might have the bullet fly slightly away from the enemy that you shot, but you still end up getting that headshot. And in other cases, when people shot right millimeters before an enemy, they would click outside of the hitbox, but then when the enemy actually gets into your scope, the animation plays, the bullet goes through the head, and you're actually not getting a hit. So people were getting really confused and really upset at this system and how the animations were really screwing them up. And because of this, there were lots and lots of complaints about the "what you get is what you see" quote that Valve used in their promotional videos. And it's understandable. I would be upset too if I clicked and the bullet just goes through and does not do any damage. It's understandable completely. Right, I mentioned that Valve did an interview for the PC Gamer website, and I'm gonna link this article in the description so you can actually look at it yourself. And in here, one of the questions is actually about the CS2 subtick, and Valve explains exactly why this mismatching was happening and so on. Basically the thing that I just explained. And they also express the fact that they pay a lot of attention to user feedback. They may not be responding to it, but they take all of this feedback and they try to fix the bugs faster and faster. And one of the reasons why they have released CS2 as unfinished as it was is because the community can help the game become better by identifying all of these bugs, by coming up with solutions and so on. They're kind of crowdsourcing the game into a faster release and faster development. They could have kept it as a beta, they could have just had a small player base and continued fixing and improving the game slowly, but that way we only would have had CS2 in like a year, 2 years, 3 years maybe. But now that the game has over 31 million unique monthly players, Valve is able to identify so many issues and fix them so much faster. There's also funny questions about NFTs and is Valve planning on doing anything in that regard or making skins NFTs or anything like that, and they just replied that they kind of don't care about NFTs and they just said that they don't know enough about NFTs to weigh in on that conversation. I think the way they implemented skins is good enough and they just don't really need to care about NFTs, honestly. Another interesting thing is that Valve intends to introduce new CS2 weapons. Honestly, I think that's a good idea because you're not forced to have all those weapons in your, let's say, shop, right? In CS2, you can choose what weapons you are able to buy in-game, so it's not really cluttered anymore. It's only giving you more options, and I think that's good because there's so many players and people prefer different things. There's also a question about, is Valve paying attention to the CSGO community market and how are they reacting to all these changes, right? All the price surges, all the price crashes and so on. And their general response was that they just honestly don't care, right? They don't pay too much attention to temporary fluctuations. And honestly, I think that's exactly as it should be. One of the questions got Valve to basically explain why they changed to Source 2. And in short, it's better tools and a better foundation for the game. That's it, right? People are mad, people want CSGO back and all of that, but they don't realize that it has reached its full potential. There is no more better, right? It has reached that top ceiling that it does not get better than that because of the limitations of the Source engine. Now that they're working on Source 2, they can actually do so much more. So far, they've only really tried to replicate CSGO inside Source 2, right? That's all they've tried. They haven't really used much of the Source 2 potential. And as the game gets better and more polished, they will be able to tap into that potential. There is some other cool stuff in this article. You can read it yourself. You can find it in the description. The next headline is about the player base, and here is a graph representing the entirety of the year 2023. This is the start of the year. This is when the CS2 rumors starting appearing in January. And that actually led to lots of people trying to get into the game and so on. Also the market surging and all of that during March. That's when it happened. The peak was hit during the Paris Major at 1.8 million players, which is almost double what it was at the start of the year. It's absolutely insane that it grew that much. That's when the beta started, and because it was really hard to get into, people were kind of just jumping ship, stop trying to get the beta. But as the summer continued, people had more hope that they might get the beta, and finally on the 31st of August they opened the public beta. That's when people started playing it, and that's when people got disappointed. And yeah, people just jumped ship because they weren't as interested in CS2 being unpolished, unfinished, and not that great of a game. Not as good as CSGO at least. But we noticed that in November the player base stopped shrinking. It reached the point that it was at the start of the year before all of this happened, right? And now in December it's actually growing. It's bigger than it was back in November, so I think there is hope that the player base is going to at least not shrink for the near future, right? And honestly, I don't see why it would shrink anymore at all. We're approaching holidays, people are gonna play a lot of CSGO because everybody's stuck at home, it's snowing outside, it's freezing, people don't want to mess with that, and they're just gonna sit at home and play CSGO. I mean CS2. There's also going to be a major next spring, so that's gonna bring a lot of players, potentially even Operation, but I would say probably not anytime soon because they have lots to work on inside CS2, so it doesn't make sense for an Operation to come now. This growth in the player base also led to that growth in prices for skins. More people are able to play, they want to buy skins, potentially people that sold their skins when they lost interest in the game because they just didn't need the skins anymore, so they just sold them, and now they're buying them back. I think that all those chunks of information, as well as the fact that we literally just had the biggest crash CS2 has experienced in like 2 years, and before that there was actually another big crash that happened in like 2021 I believe, or 2020, I don't remember. But other than that, I think this was the second biggest crash in the CS market since like 2017 when the trade hold was introduced, so for a very long time this is one of the biggest crashes. And usually the way the market behaves after crashes is it just sits still for a while until there is an eventual really big spike. That has happened many times, and you can see that with skins that have been around for a long time because they've experienced all of these crashes, and they've been in periods of stagnation, and they've been in periods of really high growth and crashes again, and really high growth and crashes again. Of course, we can't really predict how the market is going to behave, but we can gain more confidence from the things happening in the market. And honestly, I'm starting to gain more and more confidence since I do trade CSGO skins actively, I do invest actively, and it's looking a lot better in the last couple weeks, even a month. And the last headline, it's not really a CS2 headline, but I got mugged by a freaking Seagull today. I went to a market, just bought myself a hot dog to eat because I was hungry, and just as I was leaving the market, I ate like more than half of it. I was holding it pretty tight because I was actually thinking about the fact that Seagull might come and snatch it. So I was holding it pretty well. But this mofo came so fast from behind above me, snatched it with its beak, and it even scratched one of my fingers. Not too bad, but it cut my skin a little bit. It just freaking snatched it from my hand. These mofos are freaking unhinged. I really wanted to kick it because it kind of just flew 2 meters in front of me and sat down on the ground, but like I already understood that it was already eating my hot dog, so can't really get it back. And what good is kicking the bird gonna do? So I just went home and dealt with it. So yeah, that's my story. But yeah, anyway, thank you for watching till the end of the video. Also, if you want to learn how CS2 skin floats work, you can watch this tutorial I made yesterday. And also remember to leave a like on this video because every single like brings me another 10 views to the video, so that's pretty useful. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you very soon, alright? Have a nice rest of the day, and may Lord Gaben bless you with a lot of stonks. Alright, see you, bye bye.